everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back to the Enrichery Podcast. I am Melanie. I am our area director here in the Houston area.
Hi there, I'm Tamara Vandenberg, and I'm so glad to be working with the Enrichery as the Birkman consultant.
Yeah. All right. So, Tamara, can you tell our listeners a little bit about your background and how you became a Birkman consultant?
Absolutely. The first time I had experience with the Birkman, it was actually with my son, and he was a junior in high school, and a friend of mine had recommended how helpful the Birkman was for her child in understanding who he was and in really what he needed to study in college. So his dad and I were like, okay, we'll try this. When the Birkman consultant sat down, one of the first things she said to him, Grant, do you tend to procrastinate? And I went, yes, someone's telling him the truth. And it wasn't mom. And so and it wasn't just that, but everything she said about him, I'm like, I know my child is this way, but you're articulating it in a way that he can understand about himself.
Oh.
And for a teenager, a young adult to really start to understand who they are and how they're wired, it's really life-changing. And, he was talking about maybe I want to do mechanical engineering or maybe business. And so when we sat down with her and she said, oh, yes, you need to be a mechanical engineer. Well, that sealed it.
Mm.
So when he got into Texas Tech School of Engineering and he got into a maybe A&M, it was a no-brainer for us as a family that he needs to be an engineer, so he needs to go to Texas Tech. So that really impacted me. So I have a master's in education. I've been in education for several years, and I really love seeing how this impacts the students and how it influences their lives. I'll tell you another story too about why I fell in love with the Birkman, because when I was an administrator at a school, I had someone apply to be a pre-K teacher, and we had her take the Birkman. And I looked at the results and I thought, oh dear, she does not need to be teaching pre-K, because it shows so much about a person's personality. But what I saw is she needs to be a librarian, and we needed one. So I broached that with her, and she was the librarian at the school for over 15 years.
Wow.
So, it really helps to identify what someone's going to enjoy doing.
Yeah. How did you and the Enrichery start working together?
So just having this passion for especially young people to get to be a part of their life, it's almost like a little mini counseling session that I get to speak into them and help them understand themselves. So I reached out. I knew that the Enrichery was doing such a wonderful job with college admissions and really helping gear young adults into what their life is going to be, who they're going to be when they grow up. So I just reached out and said, I think this could be a benefit to go along with what you're already doing.
Yeah.
So it's been a good match.
It has. We've really enjoyed working with you, and I know our families have as well. So it's been great. So before we really dig in to kind of the nitty gritty, can you just in one sentence, what is the Birkman?
Okay. So it was developed by Dr. Birkman, and it is data-based and scientific, a way to it really synthesizes complex human behavior to give understanding of personality and therefore also best career fits. And so the end of it actually has, these are your best careers.
Yeah.
So,
So, a lot of parents, I think, have their students do Myers-Briggs or StrengthsFinders, or I know that like the school portals, Naviance, Square, things like that, they do have assessments that can tell students essentially what their career path should look like. How does the Birkman differ from those?
One of the main ways the Birkman differs is because it talks about needs. So Myers-Briggs will say, you're an extrovert or you're an introvert. It doesn't take into account what you need. And I've had people say, I think I'm kind of both. Well, you probably are.
Yeah.
So many of us have our way that act. Like I very much am gregarious. I'm a people person. I am out. I mean, if there's a crowd of 200, I want to meet everyone. But after that, I need a lot of time to myself. And people are always surprised about that. If I'm at work, I really don't want to go out to lunch. I want to get work done.
Mhm.
And everyone's different. That's not right or wrong. But the Berkman is going to show what those needs are that are unseen,
Yeah.
though a lot of times people can't see. And it with all of the components and all of the Berkman shows, I'm able to go in as a consultant and understand not just here's what a career is that another assessment might show, but really what's going to be best for you based on your personality.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it in action. It's really cool.
It's pretty fascinating.
How accurate is it? Parents always wonder, can a quiz or an assessment really tell me who my kid is and
Mhm.
what their career path might look like?
Mhm. I think because it's research based and scientific, it's amazing. And I wish a couple times that I would have recorded the responses, especially of there are two boys in particular. One of them said after we finished the Berkman, he said, Miss Tamara, it's like you know me really well on all the inside things. Because it does reveal that. And I had a 21-year-old say, I did not want to do this. I was really upset with my mother. I did not want to take it, but I've never had anything understand me and identify who I am so well.
Yeah.
So I've never had anyone say this isn't me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Can you walk us through what the Berkman actually looks at? What does it tell you about a person? We've talked a little bit about it tells us needs, tells us what
Mhm.
career path they should go down, but it really gets in like deeper than that.
It does, and it's because it goes into the needs in so many different components. So it's not just that one example I gave about, oh, you need a little less social time than it may look like, but it will show what are your deep motivators, what triggers you. Do you need a little bit less activity? Sometimes, especially in high school, I know so many teenagers, their schedules are busy because high school's that way.
Mhm.
I mean, they're playing sports and sometimes an instrument and they're social and they have 8 classes and they're making A's.
Yeah.
And they may be able to maintain that during a couple high school years, but maybe their need is not to have such a busy schedule. So it's going to show that in so many different categories. It will show your stress behaviors. So sometimes a stress behavior is being argumentative. And I find that some people really realize, oh, that's not naturally who I am, but it's when your needs aren't met over long periods of time, we have stress behaviors.
Yeah.
It's just like if you didn't get sleep, a good amount of sleep for several days, you're going to have some results of that in
Yeah.
your life. And our social and emotional needs are that way also, where we're going to react socially or emotionally if those needs aren't met with those triggers.
Yeah, awesome. So there are colors involved in the Berkman.
Mhm.
Red, green, blue, yellow. What do
Mhm.
they mean?
Mhm. So each of those represents kind of a big category, and we really get into that more when we talk about the components. But it's if you tend to be a little bit more systematic and you like procedures, or if you tend to be very social, and that's everything is about people, everything in your life, or if you're a deep thinker and you need lots of time. So all of the colors really signify a big grouping, and then the components get into it more deeply.
Awesome. Um, so what about career interests? Does the Berkman point students towards specific fields? And what does that do for a kid who comes in and says, I have no idea what I want to do with my life?
Mhm, mhm. It's actually amazing how accurate it is in those fields. And and this is why I know we've talked about this a little bit before too, why the consultation is so important also, because if you just read it, you may not be able to put all of the pieces together.
Mhm.
So, one of my best examples is there was a young lady that I met with, and she was so artistic. And I knew from her Berkman that being an artist, just going for it in the art field, was not going to be what she would really enjoy long term. And putting all the nuances of who she is together, this is so unique. She is now studying, she's in her 3rd year of college, studying to design prosthetic pieces.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So because all the art and design, it's everything led to that. And her parents were, they were like, oh, we're so thankful that we know what she's going to love doing with her life. So it's amazing how it can pinpoint.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Um, so, we do the Birkman at the Enrichery mostly for teenagers that are going through college admissions and our test prep program and just getting ready to kind of ramp into that time of their lives. Why is the Birkman particularly useful for high school students?
Well, as most people probably listening know, high school students don't know themselves very well. Well, and I've met with many adults too that they're so affirmed when something's in black and white. Oh, that's why I react that way, or that makes sense that I need this. So it really helps people to understand themselves better. When I understand what I need, I can advocate for that. So this comes up sometimes with high school students going to college, because we don't just talk about career
Right.
when we talk about their Birkman results. We're also talking about, what is it going to look like when you're on your own, not living with mom and dad who do know you and probably treat you like your needs because they're just used to who you are. But when you have a roommate and they don't know that you need downtime, they don't know all these things about how you like to be treated, it can be, there can be a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
So if you know how to advocate for yourself, I know just the other day I met with someone at the Enrichery, and we had a Birkman, and I said, with the way that you're wired, what your need is, that you don't like surprises, it's going to be really important for you when you have that first roommate to say, here's some things I need. Because if we can do that ahead of time, and hey, this is how I'm made. I'm created this way.
Yeah.
I need, or when I get home, this was another one a couple weeks ago. When I get home from classes, I'm going to go straight to my room because I need to de-people and I need just some time to myself. So please, please don't have your feelings hurt. Just, it's not personal, but I'm going to go to my room for about an hour and unwind. And I need to not talk to you. But if you know to say that ahead of time, if you can advocate, you're going to preemptively cut out some of that conflict that often happens.
Yeah.
And I tell them all the time, my card is in your folder. Please keep it handy, because something's probably going to happen your freshman, sophomore year of college. And so many of the things that we have conflict with, it probably has to do with your needs. Socially or emotionally, and we can work that out. We can talk about how you can have a conversation with your roommate and help it be a little bit more peaceful. And we also talk about how to set up their schedule, because if they've been used to being busy, and I see in their Birkman that is not really how they want to function, we can talk about that as well. So it really helps a young adult to understand themselves better and how to be proactive.
Yeah. I wish I had that when I was younger.
Right.
Just a lot of conversations in my family of, mom needs a few minutes after work. She's peopled out. What about the opposite? The kid who comes in and is like, I'm going to be a doctor. And then they plop down in the chair, and they've been saying they're going to be a doctor since they were maybe 8 years old. Does the Birkman ever surprise students with that? You talked a little bit about the art student.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sometimes there are students who say, I've always wanted to be a doctor, and their Birkman shows that's a great field for them. And what the Birkman can show is more specifically what kind of doctor. And it can really affirm, because if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on college, let's do a Birkman and get it right.
Right.
Let's really make sure that you're not going to take all these classes for 2 years and say, actually, and I've heard this happen, I cannot stand the sight of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, this is a problem. You're 2 years in,
Right.
and so it's going to save a lot of money
Yeah.
um, by really pinpointing it, by affirming and just knowing this is right. Or perhaps there have been other motivators. Maybe their favorite uncle was a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe someone's always told them doctors make lots of money. And so it helping to really understand and really see what's there is going to save them a lot of time and money.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of our conversation on the enrichery side, when students come and pretty much, know what they want to do, is okay, why? Get down to the why.
Mhm.
Why do you want to do that? Is it truly what you want to do? Or like you said, were there outside factors, outside
Mhm.
influences? And usually when the outside influences are there, that's when we see the change in major as we're going through the process of like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think I want to be a doctor. Actually, I really am interested in, some other field of science or, whatever it might
Right,
be.
right, right. And
Yeah.
it's normal. Children are asked at 6, what do you want to be when you grow up? And sometimes you hook onto something and you almost may be stuck in feeling like, well, I've always said I want to be a doctor and I'm good at science.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, well, there's so many other things that go into those careers. So
Yeah.
it's so glad Enrichery helps students figure that out.
Yes. Can you share a story, obviously with or without names, whatever you can do, of a student where the Birkman really clarified things for them?
Mhm. Oh, this was probably about 5 years ago. There was a young lady, it's actually a close friend of mine, her daughter, and I could start crying.
Oh.
Well, she had decided she did not want to go to college anymore.
Mhm.
She was like, "It's too hard. I don't like it. I don't like studying. I'm just done." So she just wanted to quit and kind of work a different job,
Yeah.
but not going to college. And we sat down and did the Berkman, and I watched her countenance change. Because when we went through that, I said, being a social worker, this is what you're created for. And her whole countenance changed, and she said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up for classes for January. This was like November. And she graduated a year ago and with her master's, and she is just living her best life.
That is
So
awesome.
I know. So to know her, I mean, I've known her since she was born. And so to watch this transformation and part of that Berkman experience, I affirmed to her through the Berkman, and school's hard for you.
Yeah.
It is. And I see this, that you can do hard things.
Yeah.
And so if you can get through school in the next 2.5 to 3 years, that short little window is going to make such a big difference that you're doing something where she loves serving people, all these things that showed up on her Berkman. Then for the rest of your life, you're going to be doing something that's worthwhile to you. So that it's a difference maker.
It is. It is. I know one of the students that you and I sat with last year, they were bouncing ideas, mom and her and me, where we were bouncing ideas back and forth. It was business, marketing, graphic design, very creative student. And I remember when we did her Berkman, and I think marketing came up, graphic design did come up. And it was really cool to kind of see mom just like keep turning to her and being like, see, I told you. And, and also just like the clarity that it gives the parents as well of like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is my child, even though they're maybe fighting against me everywhere. But it was really great to see her really walk into her college admissions application week and just know exactly what we were majoring in at each of the schools that she was applying to. And she's headed to Auburn this fall.
That's
I'm
great.
super proud of her, and just super proud of all of our students. But it's just been awesome to watch students that you and I have met with together and just kind of take what the Berkman gave them and run with it. And it also helps the application process be so much easier because they have a clear line of sight as far as, why do I want to major in this when those essay topics come up?
Yes,
And
yes.
even like schools, why do I want to go to this school? Well, we did research based on your Birkman of where you're going to fit in and where, the schools that maybe were on the list initially that we needed to take off because your Birkman told us that those environments are not going to be good for you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Those Berkman results, I mean, it's like 70 pages. You've seen how much information you receive.
Yeah.
And I have told so many scholars, use that for writing your essay because it's who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, there are stories and so many other things that the Enrichery helps them with, but using that Berkman can be really helpful too.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it helps us on our end as the advisors as well, because I get a copy of the Birkman. And so when I am going through the research of, helping students build their college list, I flip back and forth in that Birkman constantly because I'm like, okay, wait, this school has a really large population of students, but this Birkman and Tamara said that that's not going to be good for this student. We need to scale down and look at schools that are maybe more medium size, smaller size. And it really helps those conversations with those families who were looking to go to the bigger schools, UT, A&M, and things like that. It helps those conversations flow a little easier and land easier with families
Right.
because they have the data. We have the data to back
Right.
up what we're saying. So it's
That's
awesome.
that's well said because really what we're trying to help a student and their family is to know what's the truth about who they are and what they need.
Right.
Because we can think because all our friends at such and such school are going to here,
Yep.
here, and we think that's what we also want because everybody's doing that, or it's the school this month that everybody likes better.
Yes.
And when it comes down to it, it's your life. It's that student's life. And so I appreciate, I know we've had those conversations about the best fit of a college or university and the environment because the Berkman can really pinpoint what type of an environment do you need.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot. One of the things you said too that I wanted to go back to, um, the Berkman with showing personality, there have been times that parents are surprised too by what their own child needs because we get in a rhythm sometimes. I know I did with my children of how I speak to them or how I interact or what I think they want. And I think that can be really helpful with family dynamics.
Right.
So my daughter, when I was parenting her and she was in high school, I said something like, "Hey, somebody has some laundry up here, and whenever you get a chance, it would be really great if you could switch out your laundry because I want to be, kind. I don't want to be." And she said, "Mom, you baby me, and the way you talk to me, just tell me, come get your laundry out." And I was like, "Okay." Well, when I did her Berkman 2 years later, that was shining on her Berkman that for some reason when people talk to like beat around the bush with her,
Yeah.
it almost hurts her feelings. Like I'm talking to her like she's a baby.
Uh-huh.
Once I knew that, it helped change just that one little dynamic of how I speak with her in particular. And she has told me, "Thank you so much. That's really impacted our relationship."
Yeah.
So it's those type of things that help in the dynamics, both parent to child, roommates, and that I tell people when you get married, call me again.
Yeah.
It's all the relationship dynamics that this helps with.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. When I was growing up, my mom very much lived by, I think as I was growing up, I would make comments that she treated me and my brother differently. And she would tell me, "You're different kids. You need something completely different than what he needs."
Right.
And so I took that and ran with that as a mom. I have 3 kids and each of them are very different. And I have one who is very much like your daughter, don't beat around the bush with me, tell me straightforward. And then I have another one that I do have to be softer with, and have those soft conversations because otherwise it's gonna not land well.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Right.
that's great.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we intuitively know that as a parent with each of our children. And this is, again, what's so fascinating about the Berkman because we have our outside self, how we look,
Right.
So I tend to be, my Birkman shows, I'm a very blunt person.
Mm.
So because I may present that way, other people will treat me with bluntness
Mm-hmm.
because we tend to treat people with what we see.
Right.
I get my feelings hurt very easily. And that doesn't